Roch Kubatko of MassonSports.com. Now, I'm a bit confused. Kevin Gausman was here, or he was on his way. Now he's pitching today for AAA Norfolk. Now I realize somebody's got to pitch on Thursday because the two pitchers going today. Is Kevin Gausman is he getting ready for that start?
So you brought me here to clear up the confusion.
Absolutely.
Boy, am I the wrong guy to do that. Yeah, the only reason they need now a starter on Thursday is they decided not to use a starter today as a 26th man to pitch game 2. So you can't have Tillman or Jimenez working on short rest. So they do need that starter Thursday, and I would think, even though Buck hasn't said so officially, Gausman's going to be the guy. Buck said he had a couple of options, but Gausman was supposed to start last night for Norfolk, which would have put him on normal rest for Thursday. They also were rained out. I think the entire world was rained out last night. He's pitching game 1 today for the Tides, but only 2 to 3 innings. They're going to limit his pitch count. That way he'll be available to pitch on Thursday, and it's not a big deal that it's technically short rest. So I really think he's the guy. I can't imagine what would have to happen for them to go in a different direction. And I know there are a lot of fans saying, what are they doing with this guy? I believe me, the Orioles would love to have Kevin Gausman on a regular, every 5-day start type of schedule, but stuff just keeps happening. Things keep coming up. He would have been working on normal rest if he had started last night. They couldn't control the weather. So now, because you have rainouts here and there, they have this need now for a starter. Buck did stress, though, too, they're not going to a 6-man rotation beyond when Kevin comes up. So they're going to have to, if they bring him up on Thursday to make that start, they're going to have to make a roster move. It's not like they're going to stay with 6, so they're going to have to do something else after that, whether Kevin gets option or they can figure something else out. So Kevin may just be here temporarily, but I think he's the guy on Thursday.
It's kind of amazing. When spring training began, they had the problem, 6 starters for 5 spots. Here we are in late June, they still have 6 starters for 5 spots. Now, you talk about roster and the roster crunch that will come this week. Jonathan Schoop is here. It's imminent that he's going to be activated. The problem is, for the Orioles, how do they get him on the roster? They have to also get him back on the 40-man roster.
Right, these are pleasant problems, right?
Absolutely.
I keep being told that, and I say that, but I'm thinking it's pleasant, but I know it's got to be a headache for Dan Duquette. So the plan with Schoop now, he's here working out again today. He could be activated tomorrow, and as you said, you'd have to make spots for him on the 25 and 40-man roster, or Buck said today that Schoop could end up going to Norfolk to continue his rehab assignment, not being option, but continue this assignment, which to me would clearly be an indication, look, we need to go ahead and take a little more time to figure out how we're going to make room for him. Because Jonathan certainly looks like he's ready. He homered in 3 straight games at Bowie before Friday. When he works out here, you see him running sprints, he's rounding the bases, he is ready to go. But you have to make room for him. And believe me, Dan Duquette is working the phones, trying to see what kind of interest there is in certain position players. Not Chris Parmalee, though. I'm told he's the guy they want to hold on to, but there are others. The other thing we should consider, too, and I'm not saying that Ryan Flaherty is blocking Jonathan Schoop, but the guy's hitting 260.
Right.
With 3 triples, giving you good defense. He was intentionally walked the other night. When does that ever happen with Ryan Flaherty? That's the kind of respect he's getting now. So as long as you have Flaherty hitting the way he is and playing this kind of defense, you really don't need to push to get Schoop back in the lineup. So you may as well take maybe a few more days to figure this out.
Well, really, with the 5 players on the bench, you're talking about 2 players going, 1 Schoop will replace, and then somebody else for the 7th reliever, because you know they're not going to go with 6 relievers long term.
Right. So again, these are just more decisions to make, and luckily you have this kind of depth, but it's been creating problems because you don't have a lot of flexibility as far as guys that have options and how you're going to make room. You can't send them down without losing them, and Buck keeps saying, I'd like to hold on to all the pieces here. But I think that's pretty much impossible. You're going to have to either take a risk of putting somebody, designating them and maybe lose them to a waiver claim, or having to trade them.
All right, now Chris Davis is again in right field. He played there the other night, and I'm not sure what to make of this. Is this to solidify right field, or is this maybe to get a better look at Parmalee playing first base day in and day out? He's at first base again today.
Right. Maybe they just want a little more muscle in right field.
Well, they got muscle, Chris.
I hadn't even realized, and other people too, I thought that Chris had played right field last season or the year before. He hadn't played it since 2012, and he said, well, that's because he's so good with his range, he ends up in right field a lot. But Buck gave a couple reasons today, and one of them, he said Chris is every bit as good in right field as he is at first base, and he's got one of the strongest arms, and he thinks it's a little easier on his legs, actually, to play the outfield than first base, which might seem strange, but Buck said what you have to do play to play with your legs and the movement, it's actually easier for him, and he looks at Davis and Parmalee as pretty much being interchangeable. So he wants to go ahead and kind of mix things up. I guess if you're going to really read between the lines a little bit too, I think they want to take a longer look at Parmalee at first. Because, hey, he could end up being the first baseman next season if he keeps hitting and you do hold on to this guy and Davis leaves as a free agent. Because he was a plus defender in spring training at first. Buck mentioned that many times. We noticed it watching the games. You've seen it here since he's played the position. It's like this guy can really handle it, so you may as well take a look. And maybe putting Davis in right field gives you another option as well. if they do have to move at least one outfielder to make room for, let's say, a Jonathan Schoop. But then you have a guy like Davis who you know is getting more comfortable out there, that if you need to put him out there while Parmalee is your first baseman, you have somebody else DHing, you can go ahead and do that. So Buck kind of wants to get him comfortable again in right. Davis much more comfortable in right than left because of the angle of the ball coming off the bat, kind of simulates what he's used to at first base. And Buck said, I'm not saying that Chris loves it, but he does embrace the opportunity to go ahead and do that. He's more than happy just to play. He does, I think, enjoy being out there once in a while.
All right, and we did look. He has 31 games of experience in right field. Buck made a point of mentioning that today. Hey, he's played out there before.
Right.
It's not a big sampling, but at least he has some experience out there.